Welcome to the fourth lecture in this lecture series titled Introduction to Metaphysics. In the fourth lecture titled What are Categories? Part 2 Aristotelian Categories, we looked at one of the earliest systematic works on categories, which was by Aristotle. We also discussed 10 categories of Aristotle and how categories were related to deductions. At the end of the last lecture, we discussed that we would discuss about predication occurring within 4 philosophical problems. We take a detour from this and restart with the basics of metaphysics. In this lecture, we will discuss methodology in metaphysics. This detour has become necessary as there are a lot of basics that require to be clarified before we venture into the depth of metaphysics. In the last few months, I have realized that metaphysics requires a solid foundation to understand complex and abstract ideas accurately. Skipping methodology can cause confusion and misinterpretation in metaphysical discussions. Philosophy uses rigorous arguments and logical reasoning, not personal opinion. Methodological clarity enables critical analysis of metaphysical claims about. It would do better to clarify key concepts in metaphysics at the inception. We will come back to categories later. Just to have a connect, those watching this video may watch lectures 1 and 2, whose links are given in the description below. These are not lengthy and would take about 20 minutes together. We saw metaphysics as a branch of philosophy that concerned with the fundamental nature of reality. So, how do metaphysicians actually argue? Metaphysics is not just sharing your opinion about reality. Philosophers construct arguments, structured chains of reasoning to support their claims. An argument has premises and a conclusion. The premises are the starting claims. The conclusion is what the argument is trying to establish. There are two key notions. An argument is valid if, assuming the premises were true, the conclusion would have to be true. An argument is sound if it is valid and the premises are in fact true. This seems to be a bit complicated to grasp immediately. Let us see some examples. Premise 1. All students in class 7 must wear a school uniform. Premise 2. Ria is a student of class 7. Conclusion is, therefore, Ria must wear a school uniform. Why this helps? If both the premises are true, the conclusion cannot be false. So the argument is valid. So if both these premises that all students in class 7 must wear a school uniform and Ria is in fact a student of class 7, the conclusion must be true. That is, the argument is valid. That is, if in reality the school really has such a rule and Ria is really in class 7, then the premises are true, so the argument is also sound. The next example is from maths. Premise 1 is all even numbers are divisible by 2. Premise 2 is 8 is an even number. Conclusion is, therefore, 8 is divisible by 2. If premises 1 and 2 are true, the conclusion must be true. So the argument is valid. Since both the premises are in fact true, the argument is also sound. Let's take the same example to demonstrate an unsound argument. Premise 1 is all even numbers are divisible by 2. Premise 2, 9 is an even number. Conclusion is, therefore 9 is divisible by 2. Although the conclusion is true, assuming the truth of premises 1 and 2, the argument is valid. But premise 2 is not true. Therefore, the argument is not sound. Okay, you get the difference? For testing whether an argument is valid, it is assumed that the premises are true. Okay. But to determine whether an argument is sound, the premises must be true. That is the difference. Now let's look at some more examples. Premise, this one is from physics. Premise 1 is, if a body is acted by no net external force, then its velocity remains constant. That is Newton's first law. Premise 2 is, the spacecraft is acted by no net external force. It is in deep space, far from significant gravitational fields, and its engines are off, ignoring tiny effects. The conclusion is, therefore, the spacecraft's velocity remains constant. Given the premises, the conclusions follow necessarily, so the argument is valid. But if these premises are actually true in the situation described, it is also sound. Let us see another example. This is from philosophy. Premise 1 is, every event has a cause. Premise 2 is, my decision to raise my hand is an event. Conclusion, therefore, my decision to raise my hand has a cause. The structure here is the same. That is, all A are B, X is A, so X is B, which is valid if both the premises were true. Conclusion would have to be true. Whether the argument is sound depends on whether premise 1 is in fact true. That is, every event has a cause, which is precisely a contentious metaphysical question. Much of our study will involve identifying arguments in readings, making their structure explicit, and evaluating whether they are good. One of the main tools we use is conceptual analysis. A concept is the general meaning behind a word or expression, not just the word itself. In philosophy, the concept of knowledge underlies thousands of pages of epistemology. Before asking how much we know, philosophers first ask what counts as knowing at all. In law, contract is a concept that structures many rules. The rules tell you what a contract is and when is it valid, how it is breached, and what remedies follow. But those rules presuppose some more general grasp of what contract is. Concepts are like building blocks, whether in philosophy or law. Legal doctrines and philosophical theories are complexes made by combining concepts in specific pattern. Let us delve a bit into this. Take the concept of cause. Different theories say very different things about it. Some say to cause something is just to be regularly followed by it. Others say to cause something is for a certain counterfactual to be true. Roughly, if the cause had not occurred, the effect would not have occurred. Others think in terms of physical process connecting cause and effect. These different analyses generate different metaphysical pictures of the world. So, clarifying the concept is not a mere verbal exercise. It shapes what kinds of realities we posit. Conceptual analysis is a disciplined way of clarifying what those units really involve. Put simply, it means carefully unpacking what we actually mean by a term like law, right, cause, or knowledge, and testing candidate analysis against clear cases, borderline cases, and counterexamples. So, there are essentially 3 steps. Step 1, proposing a definition or a set of conditions for what concept applies. Step 2, checking this against clear positive cases where everyone agrees the term applies, and negative cases where it clearly does not. Step 3, stress testing it with hard cases and thought experiments to see whether the proposed analysis holds up. There are many other methods in metaphysics which we will see in due course. For now, bye bye and stay safe.